This episode was recorded on April 7th. Welcome to the Polytopian Interviewer, where I interview people on their experiences and views on the Polytopia Discord community. I have Mokia with me today. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Doing good. It's nice to hear a female voice because they're not that common in the Polytopia community.
That's what I've noticed. I get a lot of people who quote me and they'll say he, and half the time it's not worth the effort to correct the pronouns. But some of the people who are getting familiar with me do make that effort for me, so I appreciate that.
How did you first get into the Polytopia Discord?
So I've actually been playing Polytopia since 2017. At this point, it's only been 2 months since I joined the Discord. I don't exactly remember how I found it. I was either researching something for the board game I'm trying to make, or I saw it on Reddit. I can't remember which. It's kind of turned into a bit of a time sink now. I look at it on my phone between phone calls at work, so it's definitely absorbed me.
Is the board game Polytopia related, or is it something different?
No, it's Polytopia. I'm trying to build it as a board game. Making board games is something me and my husband are interested in. I thought it would be nice to try and convert an established game first as my first attempt for creating board games, so I've been trying to transform Polytopia. And you can see my progress and prototypes in the main Discord.
Oh yeah, you are the same person. Sometimes I'm very slow to realize stuff. You are that same person that's been working on the board game.
I am. It's slow going. I mostly only can work on it on the weekends or after work. And of course, I always get my ideas when I'm in the middle of a phone call while at work. So I have a notepad I keep next to me.
Yeah, that's one of the things I learned. Just have it in a notepad. Type it down so I don't forget.
Yes, I have pages of just partial notes that I always have to compile before I start on like actual prototyping or deciding what the next step is.
Do you have any ideas of what board games you're going to make next?
Next will probably be something that my husband and I will collaborate on because he has a lot of ideas where he has it initiated, but he's not very good at the finalizing part. So I think I'll be able to take his ideas and finish them out. Kind of just a chain of command to get things moving. So it'll probably be one of his board games. He has quite a few in mind. He works at a daycare, so during nap time, he has a lot of free time on his hands. So he has a lot of ideas.
When I was younger, I used to have a lot of ideas. I wrote quite a few of them down on paper. Now the problem is,
so
where
jaded.
can I find them?
That's true. Yeah, I have a lot of ideas scattered here and there, and I've definitely had some board game ideas as well. I don't think I've put as much thought into the mechanics as my husband has. I'm more minor, like, oh, this would be an interesting aesthetic, or I would like this single mechanic, but never like a full cohesive game, which is why I'm starting with converting Polytopia first.
Yeah, for me, it was usually, I would go, okay, this is pretty cool that we could have these units, and sometimes I would go to all the units and stats and then go, well, I can try this with Legos. This is too hard.
Exactly. I usually
younger.
That's fair enough. I usually do mini games and things in RPG Maker, stuff like that. I'll set up some testing things that way. So I do play out some of my ideas there, but once you get into anything like economy, that's where I really flounder. I think that's my biggest weakness, is because balancing your income coming in most games, because most games do have some type of income, and then early game versus late game, what is a balanced purchase price? That's always where I get stuck. I'm like, you know what? I don't need to do this right now.
Yeah, that's more of a finalizing part.
Absolutely. And then I'm like, you know what? Maybe not right now. Like I said, the plus side of converting an existing game is it's not so much developing it from scratch, it's just translating it to making it work. So there's already established prices and an increase for research costs and things in Polytopia that I just have to make sure translate to the board game okay. And that's a lot easier than figuring out all that math on my own.
And you went with the 3x3 exploring tiles, correct?
That's correct. I was originally going to be bigger than it was. Right now it's 4 3x3 tiles by 4, so it's actually pretty small. There's only going to be 6 cities in the version that I'm running because of the units, because there can be so many units. Tracking them is impossible. Even narrowing it down as much as I did and using a dice system for the units so that one dice can count as 6 different types, there's still over 150 dice needed to represent all the units possible with 6 cities.
Hmm.
It's very easy to get resource heavy in this, so that's why it's been a bit of a challenge, but I'm having a lot of fun making it.
And eventually you might need to play around with the riders and roads mechanic, because if you go into a title and it uncovers 9 tiles instead of 3, or in the case of mountains it was 3 5x5, then that might need some adjusting, but that's in the future, I bet.
I've dabbled some with roads. I've been through it a bunch. It's one of the techs I'm going to have to nix from the board game. It's just not going to function with the amount of resources already at play in the game. Mountains are
Hmm.
going to work a little differently because my exploration is going to be able to tile when you're not right next to it, while normally you'd have to be adjacent, moving onto it type of thing. So it's going to play a
Hmm.
little differently. This isn't a straight port of the game, but I am trying to stay as true to it as possible.
Yeah, that makes sense. Trying to figure out all the roads and whatnot would be very tricky.
Yeah, it was really messy. The closest thing I could figure out to make it doable with the way they can work would be to actually make the tiles dry erase. So you could just draw the roads on. But in my experience with dry erase, it gets ugly after uses. And I
Hmm.
don't want something that's just going to get ugly the longer you play it. Not to mention the movement mechanics and the math behind that. It was just too much for what's supposed to be a quick, fun board game.
Yeah,
Quick in the relative sense.
definitely relatively. How did you first get into the birb cult?
Oh, yes. So when I joined the Discord, I saw that people were all set into tribes, and I never really thought about it because whenever I play, I usually actually just play random tribes because I like seeing what I get and seeing what I can do in that game. But aesthetically, I like Quetzal the most, so I went with that one, and in particular because I actually have a Quetzalcoatl dragon tattoo, and I was like, well, that's definitely most appropriate. I have to go with that one. So I picked that, and I like most of the people that I've met in there. It's not a humongous community. It's mostly the same few people talking a lot, but they've all been really nice. They invited me to the Quetzali Corner, which is the tribe specific Discord for it. And
Hmm.
birb culture is just kind of silly and it's fun to just mess around with. I like animals and being silly. It's amusing to me. It's just a fun way to relax without having to think of complex conversations every time I'm popping online to waste time.
What? Wasting time? Nobody ever does that.
No, nobody does that. I've never even heard of that. Definitely not avoiding work or chores or anything. No.
Could you explain part of Quetzalcoatl Corner to the people that may not be members?
Obviously, it's very focused on that tribe specific. There's not a whole lot there. It's mostly dumb posts, but we do have a few events. I actually specifically wanted to join it because they were having a flag design contest for the tribe, and I like flags, I like art, I like the tribe, so I figured, well, that's perfect. I'm going to go do that. I put in my own entry. There's a couple others, and I just think it's neat to have that focus and inner community on what's such a large Discord.
Hmm. And at the time of recording, you have the most votes on your Quetzalcoatl flag, planning on making more Polytopia art.
Definitely. I mean, there's the board game itself. I did the flag entry. I've done some pixel sprites of all the tribe warriors. It's some of the first things I posted in the Discord. And I am attempting to design something for the current architecture contest. So, yeah, fan art is definitely something I plan to be a part in with the Discord.
Does that mean you'll discover Polytopia FMTs and sprite art soon?
I've looked at it some. I got invited to look at, oh, well, I say invited as I don't send the invite everywhere, but the fan made tribe server I did check out. It's very much stat based rather than like this is fun lore and fun art, and it really wasn't for me, so I did not end up staying there.
Hmm.
I might assist people with art if I get heavily into the Polytopia specific art style because mine doesn't really evoke it quite right. But if I get more into that style, I definitely wouldn't mind making art for people, but I doubt that I would do anything like a fully fleshed out fan tribe on my own.
Makes sense. Making a fan tribe on your own from scratch is a lot of work, even if you pick up where somebody left off.
Right. I'm not that interested in the stats. I will be honest. Before I joined the Discord, I actually just never noticed that much of the actual stats and mechanics of the game. Like, I didn't notice how much the health of your unit actually affected you in the game. And I feel really silly for saying that since I played it so long, but it's really just the game I play when I don't play anything really long, but I'm in, like, say, a civilization mood, but I don't want to start like going to be 3 days worth of playing, so I'll play Polytopia before I go to bed, that kind of thing. So there's a lot of stats that I just really wasn't cognizant of before I joined the community, and it's just not something I feel heavily invested in personally. So the fan-made tribes, like the idea behind it, but it's not something I'd pursue myself fully.
Makes sense. You're a gym leader in the friendly Polytopia server. What's it like playing against more skilled opponents and even getting tips for them as the gym leader?
So I requested to set it up on the suggestion of some of the other people in Friendly Polytopia because they're like, well, the gyms are open. Why not set up a challenge? And I was like, this is more about having fun and building a community rather than just who's the top player. Because if you want that, you can just go to the ranked games. So I went ahead and put it in, and it's become very obvious to me, even though it was already, is that I'm not a very skilled player, which probably isn't surprising, saying what I said about the stats and things like that. It is definitely a learning opportunity, though. I am seeing how other people play, and everybody's pretty nice about it and tends to give me at least a word of advice after the event. So I am probably learning more slowly than other people would, but it's a learning opportunity, and it's just nice to have a fun event with people. I used to be really heavily into the pixel art, pixel doll community, and we used to run events a lot. We used to run a summer event, things like that. And I was usually the event person. So it's really nice to be in a type of community that runs these types of events.
You're one of the newer players I've interviewed. What's your experience with the Poly Discord? You talked about me a bit. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
For the Discord, it's definitely a busy place. I actually have most of it muted, especially like the areas I don't really go into. For example, ranked battles I don't do. Of course, I have most of the languages turned off because I unfortunately only speak one language. I know, shocking. I've gone into the Polycraft once. I uploaded it, checked out the Quetzali tribe, and then closed out because I wasn't sure what else to do next. So most of them are muted, and there is a lot of spam. I will say that. But a few people that I do have genuine, even silly interactions with, they're all very nice. I like the people I talk to for the most part, and the few that are what you might consider toxic, I just ignore. Or if they're in a frequent posting in every channel as a spam until they get blocked, I just block them myself. But that's very far and in between. More often than not, I'll just block people when they're posting a lot of spam in the same channel I'm talking with and then unblock them after. You just got to moderate what you're willing to put up with. But when you talk to people, it is worth it.
Yeah, definitely. So you're not going to use the Poly EO bot anytime soon, even though it has unranked games as well?
Maybe I might end up going there. In all honesty, my multiplayer experience has not been great because I'm so bad at it. I've lost every single game I've played except for one today, finally, from another person who said they were bad, and I lucked out with my random tribe being Polaris. Really, I think I just lucked out on that game. So it's kind of discouraging to play multiplayer and lose all the time. If I get better, I might go into the unranked just because I do like offering people somebody to play against. But I don't feel I offer enough right now to be a viable player for a lot of people who expect higher skill in the game.
There actually is quite a few players like you of your certain skill level. You can tell usually because their ELO is 1,000 or lower.
I mean, I'm sure I could spend the time to match up, and I'm sure eventually, like I said, over time I'll definitely get better and build other people up. I want to be somebody that will enjoy playing against. My first multiplayer experience in the Discord, was fine, but when I was talking about it in the Discord, I got very different opinions about how one should be an opponent, such as whether or not you finish which I thought was an interesting argument about whether or not you needed to make the person actually finish the game and take your last city, blah, 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 versus you should drop out because then it's just tedious at that point. So I definitely want to make sure I'm an enjoyable opponent. It's not a high priority for me. Like I said, it's just a
Hmm.
game I play to relax. I more enjoy the community aspect of it, the art challenges, the tribe events, things like that. I'm more for the community than the multiplayer.
Are you friends with Espark yet then? You seem to have a lot of similarities with her.
I'm going to be honest, I have a really, really bad memory, and I only know 3 people by name, so I do not know who that is. I'm sorry.
To be fair, when I first joined, I didn't really know anybody yet. Espark used to be, and still in the background runs the IMO Times.
Oh, okay. I do see the postings. I don't think I've interacted with her much specifically, though, no.
Fair enough, because the funny thing is about Polytopia is there's so many sub-niches. She's in the IMO Times, she's in Polycraft, and you're in the art and certain sections of Maine. So you don't really have much areas to interact.
Yeah, it's really hard to deliberately run across somebody. I have seen a lot of people, but I only recognize about probably 3 people. That's mostly the Quetzali people that speak a lot in our specific tribe channel on the main Discord. And then, of course, in the server for the tribe as well.
Mm-hmm. If you put in the effort, you'll eventually learn some more names.
I'm sure, but don't hold me to that. Like I said, I have a really bad memory, and if you change your nickname and your player profile picture, I'm not going to know who you are next week.
Same. I don't understand why people do that. It's like, who is this? I don't know you. Okay.
I'll change my picture because I like changing that up a lot, but I have been Mokia as my username since I was 12, and I'm 32 now, so I cannot shake from Mokia. I will always be that, so you always know who I am. I might throw extra nicknames, like I have Tntmasta right now for the gym event, as per suggested to me, but I still have Mokia listed. You'll always know who I am.
And I wouldn't have guessed that Mokia was a nickname you made when you were 12. It's not necessarily a username a 12-year-old would make, which is meant as a compliment, because some people's usernames as a 12-year-old are not that smart.
Hey, I had some pretty dumb usernames when I was in Neopets. I was Cheese Monk, Dragon Snap because I forgot the name for the flower Snapdragon, and then when I first joined the internet way back in the AOL times, I was Tari Tarzan. I've had a lot of usernames, but I've settled on Mokia, which was actually my character name for Amp which I'm not sure if you're familiar with. Basically, it's foam sword fights. That was my character's name, and it just kind of stuck with me because that's where the Pixel Doll community knew me by.
Okay.
I have a lot of weird hobbies now that we've talked about this. I'll blame it on age.
You're not that old. Oldest people in the community are like in their mid-30s-ish. They're all hiding in their polychance teams usually.
Huh. Yeah, I don't hear a lot of other people in the servers that are as old as I am. Most of the people are like, I'm turning 18 in a couple months, or I have midterms or anything like that. And I'm like, okay, well, that was a bit ago. And I don't usually feel old. I'm only 32, but I will say that Discord has made me feel a bit older than I usually feel. It's okay. I'll be the Polytopia grandma.
Well, I don't dare ask Espark for her exact age.
I won't ask either. We'll keep it a secret.
Let's get back to some general questions about Polytopia.
Okay.
Your favorite tribe is Quetzal. You stated that. Do you have a least favorite tribe?
Not really. Like I said, I usually play on random because I do like all of them. I guess aesthetically, Murder and Hoodrick, mostly because I just don't remember what they look like and I have to look them up. But I like all of the tribes. I'm all for tribe unity. I like to, in the tribe pride, when I'm not touting porn icons, I try to promote unity. It's a lot of very strong feelings about tribes.
How many games would you usually say you're in at once?
Since I usually play single player, I mean, it's usually just one that I play in one sitting. With my foray to multiplayer, I think the most I've had at once was 4, but 3 of them were with the same person and 1 on Steam.
Oh, you have Steam as well. That's cool.
I do. I actually just got it since joining the Discord just because I did want another avenue. 1, to play with other people, and 2, it's a lot bigger than looking at it on my phone, which is a good resource for when I'm looking at Polytopia stuff for the board game.
That makes sense.
And I can take notes at the same time on my computer versus on my phone, having it on physical paper. It's a lot easier to be able to type up in Excel different stats and things like that.
Do you have a most memorable game you ever played?
I think my first multiplayer game that I played in the Discord, I don't remember the name of the person it was against, but I felt rather confident. Now, I realized that I only ever play on easy and normal, and that was probably foolish of me. But about when I'd expect to be doing really great, I was doing awful, and then they surrounded me with about 20 giants. And I was like, maybe I'm over my head here.
Just a bit.
Yeah, I was like, oh, this isn't how it usually goes. That's when I realized my player level.
I found that interesting. A lot of people play against easy or normal bots and then jump right into the Discord. Me, I played it for years on and off, beat crazy bots with ease, and then eventually joined.
Yeah, I always see people complaining about crazy bots being too easy, and I'm like, half the time I lose against normal. But I also play pretty casually, as I mentioned, and it's not like I have any dedicated strategy or anything. I play on random tribes, so it's entertainment for me. I'm not looking to excel at everything. I don't even have 3 stars on a single tribe, so it's very much a hobby for me. A lot of people are very dedicated. I'm sure that brings a lot of enjoyment for them. That's not quite how I like to play my games, so I'm happy with where I'm at. It just didn't match up well with playing with other people right when I jumped in.
That's all the questions I have.
All right. I'm always happy to answer more questions. I try to be pretty friendly. I do work a full-time job, but you can always direct message me or ping me on the main server if you ever want to talk, and I'm always happy to talk about my board game, of course.
Shameless plug, I see.
I mean, what are you talking about? It'll feel really silly if I don't finish it now.
And you totally should not join Friendly Polytopia, where some of my interviews are live. This was live. And of course, nobody listened, but oh well.
Okay. They'll learn. Thank you very much for having me. I'll actually go finish eating my dinner now.
Sounds like a plan. Nice having you.
All right. Thank you. You take care.
You as well. Bye. As always, thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this podcast, feel free to share it. For the text version, you can join my Discord in the description. I also have a YouTube channel where I play 1v1s and occasionally do tutorials. We'll be back next week.